Welcome back. Happy Thursday. I hope you all have been enjoying our Polar Bear Week packet. Polar Bear Week is something really special just because polar bears are very special animals. And so this week we are learning about how they are important to the environment, how they're important to different cultures, and how they're just very interesting. So, polar bears live in the Arctic. That is their habitat. And do you guys know what the Arctic is like? Do you have any guesses? The Arctic is very cold and it's very hard to live in because there's not a lot of plants, there's not a lot of animals. So polar bears have to work really hard to survive. Which reminds me, let's check out what's on our whiteboard this week. Now, polar bears have a lot of adaptations that help them survive in the Arctic climate. And one of them is that polar bear fur isn't actually white, it is transparent. Now, how many of you know what the word transparent means? Transparent means see-through, like a glass or a window. And how do you think that polar bear fur looks white even though it's see-through like a window? Well, I'm going to show you using this flashlight here. This flashlight has a light that comes out of this little dot right here, and it has a lens on it. A lens is just kind of a curved piece of glass. So you can see how this lens is a little bit rounded. Now when I turn my light on, it is going to look like it's no longer transparent, but that it is white. So here we go. Do you see that? Do you see how that light lights up the entire glass? It's the same thing with polar bear fur. The light hits the fur, which is transparent, and it lights up the whole piece of hair. So polar bears aren't actually white, they're just lit up. And that's a way that helps them stay warm. It's a way for them to insulate heat in the cold, cold Arctic temperatures. All right, so now that we've explored that polar bear adaptation, our activity for the week is to look at polar bear habitat. A habitat is a place where an animal lives. And can you remember from the beginning of this video where polar bears live? That's right, they live in the Arctic. And the Arctic is covered in sea ice for much of the year. So let's go ahead and check out a little model that I've made of the Arctic Sea. So here we have our Arctic Sea. This plate represents land, and here we have our sea ice. Now usually, especially during the winter time, sea ice covers the sea. But as we know, because of climate change, the temperature of the sea is getting warmer. And what do you think happens when the sea gets warmer? So this is an experiment to find that out and how that warming sea affects the polar bears. Now here, I have my little polar bears. We'll put them on land. There's another one. We'll call them Klondike and Snow. And then here we have a seal. Now polar bears usually eat seals. They are the predators for seals. So these seals, they swim in the water and sometimes they sunbathe on the ice, okay? But we're gonna let this guy swim in the water. All right, so what happens when Klondike here gets a little bit hungry? Well, he has to go all the way to the seal. So he could either go this way or he could go this way. Which way do you think he should go? We're going to have him cross the water this way, so he only has to swim a little bit. He can go from ice float to ice float, just like this. And that's how he hunts. It's really easy for him. All right, there we go. Now, we will come back in a couple hours and we'll see if it's still that easy for Klondike to go hunting. I want you guys to think, what do you think will happen in a couple hours? All right, we'll be back then. Hey everyone, so it has been a couple hours. Let's go ahead and see how our polar bears Klondike and Snow are doing on the ice. Let's look at our ice. If you remember last time we were here, the ice was mostly covering this water, but it has gotten bigger or smaller. The ice has gotten smaller. So let's say Mr. Klondike wants to go hunting again. He has to swim all this way to get to the first ice floe, like that. Now, in our little, oops, Klondike, come back. In our little tub, that's just a few inches. But in real life, that can be miles that polar bears have to swim. And once they get to it, they're still far away from the seal. And so they have to swim all the way to catch the seal, and then all the way back to land, to home. And you can see how that would be really exhausting. So, because the ice is getting smaller, sometimes polar bears don't go hunting as often, which means that they are very hungry. And when they have babies, a lot of times it means that their babies aren't as healthy and can't survive in the Arctic. So that is how climate change, by warming up the water, hurts the polar bears. And that's why it's so important for us to learn about the environment and what we can do to help protect animals like this. In our poem of the week this week, it talks about conservation of a different kind of animal. It's really easy to love these polar bears. They're so cute. But some animals, like bugs, are less cute, but they are in danger too. And it's really important to protect all kinds of animals, both big and small. Alright guys, so next week, on Friday, tomorrow, we have another polar bear activity. I will be coming door to door with that, so be ready. We're going to be doing an experiment so that we can learn how polar bears stay warm when they're swimming in the water. All right, I'll see you guys then.